Morning, everybody. This is Tim. Today is Wednesday, the 30th of July. Hard to believe it's almost August. And as we know, we move into the month of August and September. Tropical activity ramps up, as well as this is MCS season, MCV season, where we have multiple MCSs that move through the flow, mesoscale convective systems, especially in the upper Midwest. Well, depending on where the northern part of a ridge sets up, yeah, these ridge riders that ride systems that ride over top of the ridge, and a lot of times people don't think about what's out here in the Midwest this time of year is corn, and corn is planted in a good portion of the Midwest and plains, and so corn. Um, I was reading an article. Um, per 1 acre of corn, evapotranspires 3 to 4,000 gallons of water into the atmosphere a day, and that adds moisture to the atmosphere, of course, and so fuels storms even more and raises dew points and humidity levels, and fuels these storms even more than they used to. So not to say it's fully responsible for these increased number of MCSs, but any increase in moisture above what would be normal without corn, for example, you know, obviously enhances rainfall. So um, that's that little bit of a scientific detour there. But as we talked about in previous, we have, the higher color cloud tops here in orange, dark red, like maroon, and where the cloud tops are, green and different colors like that, less intense, um, cooler colors, let's say. It's not as intense. This just denotes where the highest colder cloud tops are, and the most thunderstorms, like the thunderstorms really, and the heaviest rainfall likely falling. So you can see up in the stream of moisture going into the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, High Plains. Also, flow off the Atlantic. It looks like this ridge of high pressure. You can see the circulation here, drawing moisture in, but it's flattening out this way. So, what's going to happen is over time, the next couple of days, we're going to have a push southward uh, of these systems. I know this isn't the best drawing, but eventually it's going to cool off by the weekend. You're going to have a lot of moisture left over in this area here, and a lot cooler temperatures up here in the Northeast and a good part of the country. And eventually, you're going to have return flow back again. High pressure is going to build over this area, and heat's going to build again. But given the already looks like unsettled weather underneath this ridge here, it looks almost like we have a trough on at the surface here. Likely going to be a lot of cloudiness involved in this. And later in the video, I'm going to talk about the the rainfall going on right now in this area and see what kind of flooding we have. Real quickly, I'm going to go over the mid-level water vapor loop. Shows again where the most moisture is. See here in the southeast, streaming up through the desert southwest up into the upper Midwest. And also we have moisture being pulled in off the Pacific into the northwest here, which is kind of a weird pattern, most likely because of the mountain interactions and stuff. So, of course, the deeper greens is where the highest quality cloud tops are, and the moisture is just the greens is really deep moisture in the atmosphere. And next, I'm just going to go over quickly the 7-day forecast for a local area. And then later in the video, I'm going to talk about severe weather, excessive rainfall, and temperatures, hazard outlook, and tropical update, which is looking to get more active in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So what do you have? What do we have here? We have the a surface map showing the surface features on today. We talked about a little bit ago. Looks like a low pressure center with some surface troughs extending off into the Gulf and into the Western Atlantic along the southeast coast, up along the spine of the Appalachians. Stationary front bisecting most of the Midwest and into the Northeast. The cold front poised to what looks like the first push, which is probably not that cool of air. Maybe the push through today in the Northeast, and then you have a much stronger cold front poised to push through in the next couple of days. All this will move southward in time. So if you look over to day two, I'm just going to go through that real quick where the fronts are going to be. See that kind of consolidate where those two fronts were originally on the surface map for today. That surface trough extends further east. It's more like a wind shift boundary. And with these boundaries set up, we're likely to have enhanced rainfall. So we have a cold front pushing to the south here, also one in the northeast, mid Atlantic. So, what's the forecast for today for Warner Robins? Let's take a look. Patchy fog today, wherever we got rain, wherever the rain was, especially if you have clear skies above a lot of moisture at the low levels, you tend to get fog, and usually by 10 in the morning, it usually warms up enough to clear it out. Today, high 93. It's not as bad as it has been. Chance of showers and thunderstorms, 50%. Overnight in the 70s. Tomorrow in the mid 90s again. 30% chance of shower and thunderstorms going into the evening. And then on Friday, high 94 with a 60% chance of shower and thunderstorms. I know you can read this, but I'm going to read it off anyway. And then um, showers and thunderstorms persistent into the evening, and chances getting lower, of course, at night, which is what usually happens. And then on Saturday, we have an 80% chance of shower and thunderstorms with a high at 88. And that's probably a reflection of the cloudiness we're going to have around and persisting into the overnight hours. And then persisting into Sunday, high 81. And Sunday night, chances go down some, low of 69. That's going to be nice. It's been in the mid to upper 70s at night here for quite a while. Shower and thunderstorms chance on Monday, high 85, and starting to warm up again with shower and thunderstorms persisting through Tuesday. So it's going to be a wet 7 days for sure. As far as a national threat briefing goes, decided to do this differently. Instead of put it at the beginning of the as a thumbnail. Of course, we got the heat advisories ongoing in the Northeast, Mid Atlantic, and Southeastern plains with oppressive feel like temperatures between 100 and 105 Fahrenheit. We have marginal risk of thunderstorms from the Midwest to the Northeast. Marginal risk of severe weather, excuse me. And for the southern high plains, isolated damaging winds and hail as the primary threats, which I'll go over in more detail um, later in the forecast. And also, wherever we have excessive storms just set up, the increased moisture in the atmosphere, the heavy water loaded storms can lead to torrential rainfall and localized flash flooding in the certain threat areas, which I'll also go over later in the forecast. And for today in Warner Robins, high of 91, feel like 95 with UV index moderate, which is good because that means we got a bunch of clouds around. So hopefully won't be quite as hot today. Rainfall goes. Um, I showed you the areas where the most convection was ongoing this morning, and this is this is the outlook till 12Z today. You see a large area of Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota, Wyoming, and I'll let the current hazards come up here. You have some different flooding going on, flash flooding, some thunderstorms. You got flood watches in place here. Anyway, that's a slight risk area, which is quite large, and over the desert southwest, and a marginal risk over the southeast, up the spine of the Appalachians. The marginal risk expands up to the northeast, moves a little bit north in New Mexico, Oklahoma, Colorado, parts of Kansas. Marginal risk into Wyoming, parts of Montana, and into the southeast. Day 3, you have a slight risk along the east coast, large marginal risk where that boundary is setting up as it moves southward, shifts southward along the southeast coast, North Carolina, South Carolina. On day 5, interesting that they don't have. Anyway, day 5, marginal risk along the southeast coast and into the middle part of the country in the upper Midwest. As far as severe weather goes, today, not too much going on really. You have some marginal risk dotting the northeast and mid Atlantic, the middle part of the country here, Illinois, Missouri, Iowa, and off the front range of the Rockies, which are driven mostly by wind risk and hail risk. Tornadoes are not expected. or less than 2% chance. Day 2, small marginal risk off the front range of the Rockies, and a small marginal risk. You can see with a boundary setting up here where there's no thunderstorms anticipated. So that's good news. We've had a lot of severe weather lately, and MCS MCSs will probably start maybe moving through the flow a little bit differently than they have been recently. And for day 3, well, let's go back. Day 2, no tornado risk again, or less than 2%, and 5% wind and wind risk in those areas, and 5% hail risk. So that's good news. Go to categorical for day 3. Just a general risk of thunderstorms, no marginal risk outlined at all, which is good news. Although wherever there's thunderstorms set up, we know that we could get heavy rain and winds, but not widespread severe weather expected. So let's look at the current radar. You see where the heaviest precip is ongoing right now. And we talked about that, where the ongoing flooding is. And on the satellite loop, I showed you where the most convection is. And looks like we have a bunch of severe storms moving through the area. Yeah. But let's see what kind of severe stuff we got going on. Looks like we got severe thunderstorm watch, stuff like that going on these areas. All right, so this is a tropical update. The Climate Prediction Center has issued a new outlook for the tropics for the next 3 weeks. And I highlight the increased uptick in activity that's ongoing right now in the excuse me, Eastern Pacific, along with increased chances of tropical development along the southeast coast, with that troughiness with that boundary setting up, and left over with some lower pressures and potential system maybe moving through the flow here, getting up in the southeast. And of course, the main development region, increased chances. And they talk about the Madden-Julian oscillation, how it's coming to a favorable phase where um, enhanced chances of development in the main development region, the middle part of August. One way we can look at this is we look at the satellite loop ongoing right now, the tropics. You can see the dark yellows indicate drier air, which there's still a lot of at the mid levels. We have this pocket of moisture with a tropical wave moving through the flow here, but it's not finding a lot of convection right now. Usually during the diurnal maximum at night is when you see the most convection, but there's just not a lot going on right now. I hesitate to go through like the model forecast really, but because it's so far out. But what I want to do is, if I can find it. Oh, this is the 700 to 300 relative humidity and wind between those layers of the atmosphere, and that's the mid-level moisture content over the main development region and most of the Atlantic, and it shows the continental U.S. here too. The dark browns is really dry air, and where you have the deeper greens, of course, more moisture. Dry air is still really permeating the tropical Atlantic with waves moving through the flow here, and trying to stay coherent without getting sheared apart. And the European model in general wants to keep a weak low pressure system together, operational run, and move it near Florida by the 13th of August, which is 2 weeks from now. I think these systems are going to have trouble getting going as long as this dry air persists surrounding them, because they tend to ingest that dry air, and they really can't develop very much. I just wanted to show you that. I think that's something we're going to see if the wanes over time. But usually, the Saharan dust is a big contributor to this. And if Saharan dust keeps coming off the African coast, obviously there's dry air associated with Saharan dust. In addition, it inhibits sunlight from reaching the the low levels of the atmosphere as much as it more less than it normally would if in the tropics this time of year. So it also prevents heating, and heating and of the lower levels is important for enhanced convection. So yeah, less moisture, less heating, of course, less convection out here. I do think, however, that there's going to be uptick in activity. We'll just have to see if it can hold together or not as we go through the next couple of weeks. Something to keep an eye on. Nothing to really worry about right now, but it's kind of just neat to watch. Well, that's it for today, guys, and I appreciate you listening, and talk to you tomorrow. Have a good day.